Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. On Shavuot, especially for Yizkor, I often am thinking of a teaching that every one of us, it's Kabbalistic, I learned in the Ma'or Einayim, that every one of us has inside of us a Sefer Torah. Right? That we are, in fact, Torahs, that we are given from God and that we change and that we create as we live our lives. And so as we come to Yizkor, I think about the Sifrei Torah that we have been handed from our loved ones who have left. That we are given these Torahs that we have to learn, to study, to keep us. When we say, may their memories be a blessing, I think often this is what we mean. And so on this holiday of learning, I think about what it means to learn from the Torahs that our loved ones have left behind. And the rabbis teach us many different ways of learning, and those of you who are with us on Shavuot evening heard some of these different methods, but I want to talk about them specifically in what it means to remember. And for today, I'm going to be thinking about and using as an example the memory of Rabbi Eliezer Diamond, may his memory be a blessing, who passed away earlier this year. He was a professor at the Jewish Theological Seminary of Talmud. He was my master's advisor, and he was the high holiday chazan of my home synagogue in Madison, Wisconsin, for over 20 years, and kicked me out of my room so that he could stay there, because he was more important than me, and that was okay, to be in our house. Because we were the closest kosher home to the shul, and he would stay with us. And so one of the first and in some ways most obvious, but also most subtle ways of learning Torah, according to the rabbis, is by watching and observing. And we learned on Shavuot evening a great story in the Talmud, because there's the things that we're taught, right? That are people that we know that we loved would always teach us phrases, and then there's what we learn by watching them. And so in the Talmud, there's stories of students following their rabbis around and learning things from just watching what they do. And the one that we read, and this is the last joke of the day, is of a student following his teacher into the bathroom to learn how to go to the bathroom in a Torah way. And as I said 2 nights ago, if you have any questions, Rabbi Cooper is available at any point yes. But there is so much that we learn from just watching people be, especially the people that we are close to. Right? Those of us who are parents know that our children pick up so much about the values that we hold that we don't even know that we hold, because they watch us be and live. And so too, we learn from watching those that we loved and live. And the 2 stories I remember of being with Rabbi Diamond on Rosh Hashanah at our home once, where we couldn't find him in the morning, and he was the chazan of the shul, right, for that day, and it's Rosh Hashanah, it's a big day, and we couldn't find him. We thought maybe he left early, we don't know, and then we looked outside, and he was sitting with our neighbors who were tailgating the Badgers football game. And he was just sitting there talking to them and learning about why they were there and what they were doing, and some were from out of town and all of this. And then, we walked over and he looks and he goes, excuse me, gentlemen, each of us to our respective religious observances, have a good day. And he got up and he walked. And it was this moment of fun and joy, but learning from him what it meant to balance not only balance holiness and irreverence, but also to recognize the holiness in the seemingly irreverent. Because in that moment where, these guys are just having brats and beer at like 7 o'clock in the morning, but he recognized that is a holy thing for people in Wisconsin to get ready for a football game. And he acknowledged it, and there was something beautiful about that. And then later, on a different afternoon, we were walking home from Rosh Hashanah services, and we were walking with a number of other people coming, and as often happens, the conversation turned to, the minutia of our lives, or what was going on in politics, or whatever was happening outside in the world. And I watched Rabbi Diamond just very subtly sort of judo flip every piece of the conversation back to some sort of idea of tshuva. And no matter what other people were talking about, he didn't say, oh no, we shouldn't talk about, going out to the bar tonight because it's Yom Kippur. He just subtly made everything about the holiday. And it was this amazing way of watching Torah flow through this guy, whether he meant it to or not, right? I learned so much just from watching him be. And it was one of the great things about being his student. And then the rabbis continue with the different ways that we can learn. And the most operative one, of course, is listening. Right? That's what the Torah is given orally. It is spoken by God. It is spoken by Moses. We hear. And the same thing is true for the people that we loved. Right? If we were lucky enough to spend time with them and we listened to them and we heard their words and we heard their values, we heard their messages, but also we hear stories about them. Right? We know things about our parents that we never witnessed, but other people told us. And those stories carry very real power. We know things about our family members because other people told us. And I remember reading and hearing some of the stories of Rabbi Diamond, who had a hard life in the beginning of his life and in the middle, and he had some bumps and twists in the road that he spoke about very openly. But hearing those stories helped me better appreciate him and helped me better appreciate what it means to be resilient in this world. So hearing the stories of others is one of the most important ways that we can recall those who we've loved and who we've lost. The Torah, of course, is not meant to only be heard. As we just saw, it's meant to be recited. So much so that the Rebbe Nachman of Braslav actually says, even if you don't understand the Torah at all, even if you don't understand Jewish law, if you just speak it out loud in order, that will be enough. You will get something out of that. And I think for many of us, that is true of memory as well. There are times where the memories of someone who we've lost can just fill our brains and our hearts and our noses, our mouths. We smell, we think, we feel things they cooked, we can taste them again, right? And then there are times where those memories just won't come. For whatever reason, we're distracted, we're busy, there's things going on. And that's where, just remembering them, just saying their name, whether it's in Yizkor, whether it's seeing it on the wall of the shul, whether it's seeing their name in maybe some artwork or something you have in your home, just the fact of recalling can be enough. It can be enough to keep their memory alive. It can be enough to keep their memory going on in our own families. Just that recitation of who they were, where they were from, what they did, how we're related to them. We all have those people in our family that are the genealogists, and they just know everybody going back generations and generations. But those people are incredibly important. Right? Learn those genealogies. Even if we don't know who all the people were, just remembering the names can sometimes be enough. And of course, the Torah is really only complete when we talk about it with others in community. That is something that we know to be true, right? The rabbis in the Mishnah tell us that if two people are together and they speak words of Torah, it is as if God is there with them. We know that if we are sitting with someone and we start talking about someone that we've lost, it's as if they are there with us in that moment. And in sharing and talking, we learn new things about them. We come to new understandings about them. This is a story that is not about Rabbi Diamond, but I was once sitting with a bereaved family, and I was just asking them to tell me stories about their matriarch who passed away, and it started with them talking about how she required everybody to write thank you notes, no matter what, right? Thank you notes were a huge deal. And they started talking about it in kind of the way that we sometimes jokingly talk about our grandparents and like, oh gosh, if you didn't write a thank you note, she would be so mad and she would send you a thank you note for tying your shoes right on a Tuesday. And then over the course of them talking, one of the children of this matriarch said, well, really, I think she just wanted to say she loved us. And then everyone's like, well, right. And she wanted us to know that we had gotten the thing and that we loved her. And just in the fact of them talking through this habit of this wonderful woman, right, they came to a new understanding of what that really meant. And the same is true for all of us. So when we think about the people we've lost, we can reflect on what they've done, on what they taught us, and what we learned by talking about them, right? Because the last piece of this that the rabbis tell us about the Torah is, once we've learned it, once it is with us, in the book of Joshua, we're told that it must be on our lips every day and every night, but not only that, it's that we shall hegayon, right? We shall meditate on this. We shall have this in our hearts. Rashi says there is no hegayon ela shebelev, right? That it means it's only in our hearts, and that is the most important piece of this. As we come to this moment, I want to ask you all to think about how you remember the Torah of your loved ones. Do you remember it by doing things the way they did them, by the things you observed from watching them live their lives? Do you have words of wisdom and teaching that they taught you, that you recall, like a motto, like a family crest? They are the things, these words that bring them to your heart. Do you talk about them with other people, even if it's just who they were, where they were from, what they did, but do you talk about their lives and what it meant to you? And do you think about them? I'm sure the answer is yes. Of course we do. But are you thinking about them? And so what is the way that you remember them normally? And I want to push just a little and say, what is a way that we should be remembering them? Is there a new idea that you can bring in, a new way of recalling? Maybe it's talking about them. Maybe it's writing something down that they said so that you'll always remember it. And how can we keep these Torahs alive as we learn from them, Yomam V'Laila, every day and every night, and keep them in our hearts? Friends, we continue